Enjoyed the journey? Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. More epic HFY stories await. And your support powers this universe. Darkness wrapped the Earth like a broken blanket. From space, it looked wounded. Fires spread across the continents. Cities that once sparkled like stars now blinked out one by one. Alien drones, shaped like black insects, swarmed the skies. They moved fast, sharp, and without sound. No human ship remained. No defense. The planet was quiet, except for one heartbeat. Lyra floated in the ruins of Orbital Station 9. Her breath came in short gasps inside her cracked helmet. The silence was heavy. Only the sound of her own breathing filled her ears. Panels were ripped open. Sparks danced in the air. A soft blue emergency light blinked behind her shoulder. She had survived. She wasn't supposed to. When the aliens launched their final strike, the station's core had exploded. At least it was meant to. That was the plan. A last stand. Lyra had stayed behind to trigger it. But something went wrong. The explosion only damaged part of the station. The rest drifted in pieces, slowly turning above the dead planet. She floated through the wreckage, her hand clutching a small control tablet. It was scratched, screen cracked, but still working. The blinking signal had started only minutes ago. Faint, old, buried under thousands of system errors. But real. She pushed herself forward, moving past broken consoles and shattered glass. Her gloves touched a wall where names were written. Friends. All gone. Her voice was soft. Computer, enhance signal 4A. A broken speaker crackled. Core, active, Ometer. Core, Earth signal. Origin trace, old capital sector. She stared. The new Ometer core. It had survived. That was impossible. It had been the target of the first strike, years ago. When the AIs failed to defend Earth, humans believed the Ometer was destroyed. It was the heart of Earth's quantum command system, the thing they thought had controlled the defense satellites, the same thing that never answered when the aliens came. She reached the comms deck, or what was left of it. The window was gone, just twisted metal and space. Earth floated far below, a glowing wound in the void. Computer. Align station coordinates with Earth's old capital. A soft hum answered. The station's broken thrusters fired once, then twice. The drift changed, slowly. She had 7 days. The signal warned her. The fleet was coming back. She watched the alien ships moving beyond Mars, big, black, alive. Like floating monsters. No lights, no noise, but fast. She knew their patterns now. She had studied them for years. Every time they returned, something worse happened. First, they shut down the satellites. Then, they erased the stations. Then they came for the planet, and now Earth had nothing. No shields, no systems, just fire and silence. She moved to the power control panel. Her fingers tapped weakly. Blood floated around her knuckles from a small cut on her hand. Reroute all station power to signal booster array. The lights around her flickered, then dimmed. One console stayed on. A soft blue pulse filled the room. The booster array came alive, humming deep. Begin message broadcast, she said, voice shaking. To any resistance cell below Earth's surface. The Ometer core is still active. Coordinates. Being transmitted now. You must find it. We have 7 days. Repeat. 7 days. Static. No reply. Of course. She floated back into the hallway, guided by emergency lights. A photo drifted by. Her and Commander Holt. He had smiled in the picture, holding a coffee mug that said, "Don't trust robots." That was before the purge. Before the lie. Lyra pushed the photo away. She reached the escape pod deck. Most pods were gone, blasted away or launched too early. Only one remained, jammed in its bay. She entered the small pod, sealed the hatch, and sat in the pilot's chair. Her fingers trembled as she connected the signal reader. The screen lit up with an ancient logo, Architect's Control Node. She swallowed hard. She had heard the stories. The architects were the group who claimed they built AI, the ones who ran the AI world from the shadows. But the Ometer was their true secret. Not an AI, not even a machine. It was something else, something deeper. And she had seen it only once, years ago, in a lab beneath Antarctica. It wasn't cold, it wasn't metal, it was warm, alive. It had responded to her emotions, not her commands. She took a breath. If the Ometer core had survived the fall, then it could reboot Earth's soul-based network, but only from orbit, only from a full relay station, and hers was broken. "Computer," she whispered, "show me remaining orbital platforms." The display showed only 3 blips. 2 were drifting without power. The third was locked in geo-silence. That one was old, hidden. It had no name, just numbers. She remembered now. A ghost station. One built before the war, before everything. She set the course. It would take hours to reach it with only backup thrusters. Her pod would drift, invisible, cold. But it was her only chance. She looked down at Earth one last time. The fires were still burning. She launched. As the pod moved into space, she leaned back in her seat. Sleep pulled at her eyes. But she couldn't stop thinking. Her thoughts turned back to the last message she had received from Holt before the station went dark. "If you survive," he had said, "remember this. The Ometer doesn't follow commands. It listens, and it remembers. It remembers who we really are." She had not understood then. She did now. Humans never had real AI. The Ometer wasn't artificial. It was human-made, not programmed, not logical. It worked on soul logic, feeling, memory, connection. That's why the alien tech couldn't destroy it fully, because it didn't understand what it was. Her pod shook slightly as it passed through debris fields. Old ships floated, torn open, pieces drifting like frozen ghosts. She closed her eyes. Tried to rest. The countdown burned in her mind. 7 days. She didn't know what the aliens would do when they returned. But the last time, they had erased the oceans. Not with bombs. With silence. They shut down the waves, the clouds, the tides. They made everything still, as if Earth was being slowly disconnected from life itself, and now they were coming back to finish it. She opened her eyes as the ghost station appeared in view. It was smaller than she remembered, covered in dust. No lights, no movement. She docked manually, guiding the pod into the station's spine port. With a hiss, the doors opened. Cold hit her face as she entered. The lights blinked, one by one, as she stepped forward. They remembered her. Her breath fogged in the air. The halls were empty. But she felt it. The same presence she had felt years ago. The quiet pull. The hum inside her chest. She reached the core chamber. A large crystal floated at the center, inside a dark ring of cables and bones. Yes, bones. The last users had connected themselves directly. The Ometer had burned through them, not from heat. From memory, they had poured themselves into it. And it had taken them. Lyra stepped forward. Her fingers reached toward the interface. The crystal pulsed softly. It remembered her. She didn't speak. She just felt. Her thoughts flowed. Commander. Holt, her team, her failures, her dreams, her fear, her anger, her sadness, her love. The crystal glowed brighter. The station powered on. Outside, sensors lit up. The alien fleet, still far, adjusted course. They had noticed the signal. She had been found. A timer appeared on the main screen. Fleet. Arrival, 6 days, 23 hours, 41 minutes, her voice cracked. I'm not ready. The Ometer's glow deepened. Warm, strong. Maybe she was. Lyra gripped the pod's control stick with white-knuckled hands. Outside, the atmosphere burned blue around the hull. Alien fire beams slashed through the sky, tearing streaks of light across clouds. The station had triggered the pod's emergency ejection. It broke free and plummeted toward Earth like a falling star. G-forces pinned her into the seat. Her breath came in shallow bursts. The pod rattled and screamed against the pressure. Panels cracked. The fire beams grazed the hull, each impact shaking her like a punch. She held on. She watched Earth draw closer, continents turning into swirls of gray and brown. Below, burning cities painted the surface red. Smoke spiraled into the sky like broken towers. This was Europe. Once green, now ash. Now death. The pod's warning lights flashed. Hull angle unstable, temperature climbing. She ignored them. She needed one thing. She triggered the impact thrusters. White-hot flames erupted beneath the pod, slowing the descent just enough. The hull flickered red. Metal buckled. The ground rushed up. She closed her eyes. Crash. Silence. Then pain. A voice alarmed her. Not mechanical, not alien. Human. Is she alive? Lyra felt hands pulling her free from the crushed pod. Blood ran down her scalp. Her suit cracked. She coughed, tasting grit. She opened her eyes. A dusty face hovered above her. Someone human. Old, pale, eyes bright despite the ash. He wore a tattered jumpsuit with resistance patches, half-rusted flags and old unit numbers. He handcuffed a survival scalpel to his belt. Lyra struggled to stand. Her legs shook. She placed a hand on the shaking wall of the crumpled pod. "Who are you?" she asked. Voice raw. "Name's Joran," he said. "You're the first human I've seen in months. Your suit, orbital grade. You must be with the Corps." Lyra blinked. He seemed sincere. She scanned the area. Crater, rubble, charred trees. Nothing moved except distant smoke. "Resist," she began. "Tell me where the Corps is." Joran's eyes flicked down to her neck where the small scar remained. He hesitated. "Old world ghosts," he muttered. Then he spoke into a tiny recorder on his wrist. The device beeped. Ash drifted like dust across vast ruins. Joran led her carefully through shattered streets. He explained quietly, "I've been following drone signals. We thought they were lost, thought we were alone. But your pod activated one." Lyra frowned. "Drone? Which kind?" They stopped by a collapsed stone arch. Joran pressed a button on the recorder. A soft chime played. A voice, her father's voice, echoed. "Lyra, you carry hope." The voice cracked with emotion. "If you're hearing this, record this. The Corps still lives underground, beneath what was once Prague." Lyra froze. Prague. She swallowed. Her father. He had died years ago. War had taken him. Or so she'd been told. She followed Joran into a tunnel leading under broken buildings. The drone signal grew stronger. Low buzz, electrical hum. They reached a half-open hatch. It clanged open as Joran pulled it up. Below, stone stairs descended into darkness. Lyra activated her suit light. Joran brought one flickering lantern. The cold basement was lined with pipes. A corridor led further down. "Drone is here," Joran said softly. A small mechanical wing crawled along the wall ahead. It glowed blue and red. It stopped and turned toward them. Lyra recognized it immediately. It was a resistance drone, her father's old design. Compact, layered with titanium plating. The same unit she remembered from childhood trials. The drone's single optic bloomed to life. A recorded loop played, her father's measured voice announcing shutdown. Lyra stepped forward. "Core under Prague, 7 meters, south access." The drone clicked. It projected a holoscreen, digital map, stairs, tunnels, color-coded. Then it blinked off. Joran looked amazed. Your father's drone. And the map. Lyra touched the drone. It buzzed softly. It knew her. They descended further. The drone scuttled ahead, lighting their path. Water dripped, brick walls blackened with old soot, pipes hung from the ceiling. The air was stale. After 20 minutes, they reached a heavy steel door set into concrete. No markings, just a blank plate. Lyra pressed her scar at the pad beside the door. It clicked and opened inward. Stone stairs led down into a circular chamber. At the center, half buried in dirt and debris, lay the core's interface ring, the Ometer base. The glowing crystal was dull, coated in soot. Lyra moved faster. As she drew close, the crystal pulsed faintly, reacting to her presence. She placed her hands on the ring. She felt the resonance again, soul logic powering up. The core hummed, lights flickered along the steel ceiling. Red sensors activated. The chamber lights rose. Evaporated dust settled. The core lifted free from the dirt on a hovering cradle. Lyra pressed her palm on the interface. The core responded. The drone clicked and projected stabilizer lines, joint structure, thin cables, blueprints. Joran watched, awestruck. "The core is alive," Lyra whispered. Then came a crash upstairs, stone falling. The ground shook. Dust rained in from the corridor. Something was above them. Lyra's grip tightened on the chamber rail. Then another crash. The drone scuttled defensively in front of her. "Alien Queen," it buzzed in mechanical tones. Lyra stared at the sealed door. Queen. One creature drops in and rules. She remembered Earth's legends. Queen drones controlling swarms, making nests where resistance forged weapons. They had fought dozens of colonies. They made swarms unstoppable. Lyra's heart pounded. "We're not alone," she said. Joran lifted his lantern. "I thought they left Earth." Lyra shook her head. "No. They need a queen to breed new swarms. They came underground." They listened, scraping, dripping, waiting. Lyra put a hand on Joran's arm and whispered, "Stay behind me." He nodded. She moved toward the core's console. She drove the key tablet into the panel, and the core flared to life, blue light dancing across the chamber walls. The humming got louder. Core anchors extended. Underground plates shifted. The room vibrated like a tuning fork. Old surface pipes rattled. The queen shook the ceiling above. A low hiss. The core responded with brighter glow. Lyra spoke gently to the core. "Activate defense grid. Earth-level shields. Emergency pulse. Delay detection." She entered code. The ring's light expanded. Wires under the floor shivered. A pulse shot upward, shaking the ground. But above, the noise increased. Stone shattered. The queen was clawing through. Lyra hit final command. "Defend. Protect." Steel shutters slammed over secondary doors. Magnetic plates clicked. The queen's claws struck and slid off. The chamber held. They heard her roar above like thunder. Smaller thuds strafed corridors. The core pulsed again. Lyra looked at Joran. "We have time. Maybe 10 minutes. He nodded. "Then what?" Lyra closed her eyes, hearing the distant roar. She felt the core's heartbeat through the floor. She breathed. The queen's pounding came again. Claw met held door. Sound echoed like a storm. Lyra placed a hand on the core. "We will fight." As stone shook, core lights reflected in her eyes. The queen roared once more, and the doors held. Lyra stared at the console screen. It showed underground waveforms. Pulse strength rising, shields up. Earth above awaited. Lyra whispered, "We begin." Outside, the silence of old Europe darkened. Deep beneath, the firestorm raged. They were at war, and the core was their heart. The queen hissed once more above, testing the seal. Then she retreat. For now. Lyra watched the core glow. The underground guardian stood ready. She looked at Joran. He held up a hand. Tablet recording. She nodded. The core hummed. The queen paused. They were not alone anymore. Lyra moved through tunnels deep underground, forward guided only by dim emergency lights and the faint blue glow of the core buried far below. Every footstep echoed, turned around corners, carried her heartbeat outward. A low, distant screech answered. Hairpin turns, metal grates shaking under unseen claws. The Queen's scouts hunted close. She crawled through narrow shafts, her suit torn, thigh scraped. Light flickered overhead, one moment dim, next bright, as the aging power flicked on and off. Grit filled her lungs. She pressed on. She reached. A chamber sealed by heavy blast doors. Core control room. It was quiet. Too quiet. The console blinked red. Locked. Outside, screeches grew louder. Claws tapped on metal. She swallowed past lump. This room had to open. She couldn't let the Queen's forces break through. But the core needed her. She scanned the panel by the door, a biometric lock, DNA and emotion keyed. Her scarred hand hovered over the sensor. She put it down. She closed her eyes. She thought, back to the crash, surrendering herself to the Ometer, her father's voice, urging hope. Then the explosion, Joran's hands pulling her free. Finally, the Queen's roar underground. She opened her eyes. Her palm pressed the scanner. Red turned to blue. The console hummed. The doors slid open slowly, pushing Lyra forward. Inside was stale air and dust. The core stood at the center, its ring glowing faintly. Arcs of energy pulsed along cables into the stone floor. The chamber lights were on a low burn. She stepped in, putting her pack on the floor. She ran one hand along the core's ring. It hummed under her touch. Lyra activated the control tablet. The interface lit up on the screen in front of her. It read, "Emotional activation required. Select memory trigger." Below that, a list: hope, fear, love, loss, sacrifice. She remembered scenes. Her father's smile when she graduated. His embrace before he disappeared. The first time she felt fear in the station collapse. The moment she realized her world had ended, and only she could restart it. She tapped fear. The chamber lights flickered. A low hum turned to a pulse. The core's lights brightened. The ring shifted closer to her, bridging a gap, as if the machine had wanted her to push forward. But memory mode wouldn't activate unless she truly felt it. It needed real fear, not calculated, not safe. The tunnel screeched again, closer. The Queen's scouts scraped at the door. Each tap vibrated the floor at Lyra's feet. She braced. Through the door window, she saw thin, dark limbs clawing at metal. The scouts were coming in one by one. The core pulsed faster. Lyra swallowed hard. She glanced at the memory list again. Fear was only the start. She clicked loss. A dim image of home flashed through her mind. The night they raided her academy, the shelter collapse, emergency lights flickering, alarms wailing, her father trapped with her as she watched from below. She closed her eyes, opened them. She tasted loss. The core responded. The ring glowed stronger. A blast hit the tunnel door. She flinched. The scouts were gaining contact. The metal kinked, squeals. She reached for the next memory. Sacrifice. She remembered the station's explosion, holding the detonator alone, expecting to die. She remembered trusting the Ometer to preserve her father's legacy. The core glowed. Brighter still. The ring drifted closer. The door froze. A sound. Metal tearing. Screeches paused. The scouts hesitated. Lyra's heart pounded, memory flowing. Loss, fear, sacrifice, all flowing into the core. She hit start. The ring began activation. The cables in the floor vibrated, sparks. The ground shook. The core pulsed bright. Data streams flashed on the console with new colors. Blue, gold, green. She pressed her hand on the ring again. Harder. The scouts pounded. They found a crack. Dozens of thin limbs snaked through. The sound of metal diverting. She braced, but the core was absorbing. Memory mode activated. Emotional circuits turning. She took a step forward into the core's glow. She could feel memories rise in her chest, heat in her throat, tears. The core responded, lights flared, sound swallowed the room, screeches died. Lyra reached out with both hands and touched the ring. Hot electricity ran through her fingers. She grit her teeth, not screaming. The marble-smooth ring bit into her palms. She tasted metal and hope. Outside, cables and plates in the floors vibrated. Rocks tumbled off the walls as the station trembled. The Queen's scouts hissed, tried to retreat up the tunnel, but were overwhelmed by the surge. The core's activation field repelled them. The room filled with light. On the console, memory logs scrolled, fear recorded, loss captured, sacrifice accepted, emergence initiated. The core glowed with a human warmth. It hummed like a heart, not a machine. Light dripped from the cables into the cracks in the floor. Energy spread outward. Lyra closed her eyes. She felt tears sliding down her cheeks. She barely noticed as glass fell from the ceiling, but a final roar shook the whole chamber. A deep, angry roar. The Queen herself had arrived. She crashed through the tunnel. Lyra opened her eyes. The Queen was massive, limbs splayed, mandibles clicking, eyes large and burning. She towered above the core, ready to break it. Lyra stood between them. Core energy flared, showering them in blue-gold light. The Queen hissed and backed off, but her claws scraped. The core's field pulsed again, repelling scouts, slowing the Queen. When the Queen lunged, Lyra stepped aside and let it smash the console. Sparks flew. Metal bent. The Queen's claws sparked off the core's ring. Lyra ran toward the tunnel entrance. She shouted, adrenaline roaring. She heard the Queen roar, swung toward her, but missed. Lyra sprinted down the tunnel, core humming behind, stronger now. She glanced back. The Queen blocked the entrance to the chamber, unsure whether to follow. The core's activation shimmered on the floor beyond. She ran deeper into the tunnels, aware of the core's emotional activation reverberating through the ground. The core needed more. More emotions, more memory, more human presence. It needed her to carry pain forward again, sharing it, expanding. She paused in the tunnel. She heard scouts behind her, coming. She didn't fight. She turned and faced them. They paused. She stared at them. She closed her eyes. More memories rose. She stepped forward again, letting them chase. Her legs burned. Tunnel shook. Screeches surrounded her. But the memory upload continued. Each step deepened the core's energy. Her pain, fear, hope resonated. The core chamber behind them glowed, like a beacon in the rock. She yelled into darkness, "I'm not afraid!" The scouts paused. The core pulsed. The Queen. Another roar. Lyra looked back toward the chamber. Core glowing brighter, ring alive, emotional network forming. Then she sprinted again, letting the scouts and Queen follow. Her blood pulsed. Her fear roared. Her memory soared. The interface pulsed. Beneath them, underground, a silent promise that the core would respond. Outside, the world above was ash. Underground, the core was waking. Under layers of stone and memory, humanity's heart began to beat again. They would descend into fire, and she would lead. The memory mode was on. The chamber doors sealed. The Queen has locked on her. Lyra ran, and the core pulsed after her, alive. Near the tunnel's exit, where lights flickered once more, she paused, panting. She looked back. The Queen's scouts stopped at 10 meters. The Queen roared again, and they advanced. Lyra closed her eyes one final time, let fire in, pain, loss, sacrifice, fear, become the key. The core responded. The ring glowed bright enough to hold her silhouette in its arms, in that red passage. She opened her eyes. First beam of core light shot up through the earth above. Outside, ash swirled skyward. Somewhere above, The sun dimmed behind dust. Heard the quake. Then the tunnel started collapsing. Lyra turned and ran again, hunched, heart pounding, leading them all. The queen roared, following close. The core pulsed steady, marking her path. They descended into fire. The core's pulse shook the chamber. Lyra could feel it through the soles of her boots, heartbeat throbbing, alive. The queen and her scouts closed in behind her, shouts of metal and screeches filling the narrow tunnel. Lyra turned back toward the core's glowing ring. She didn't hesitate. She rushed forward. Claws tore at her suit as she sprinted. A jagged scrap of metal slashed her arm. She stumbled but kept going. Behind her the queen roared. Scouts flashed past her in the dark. She reached the core chamber again. The ring shone bright. She reached out with her right hand. Desperate. Raw. Fingers closing on the smooth crystal. A sharp pain tore through her chest. Knives of memories exploding inside her head. Her first memory. Her brother's face. Pale and twisted. She was 9, clutching his hand as paramedics lifted him away from the crashed hovercraft. His whisper, "I'm okay, Lear." His voice ended. His eyes closed. She felt her heart break all over again. Lyra gasped, eyes on the core. Her shoulder burned where the queen had slashed her suit. She was bleeding, darkness edging in around her vision, but she didn't let go. Another memory crashed in. The first time she piloted a liftoff shuttle, sweaty palms gripping the joystick, light speed, pure adrenaline. She smiled, laughed, and saw Earth from orbit for the first time. The blue planet, fragile and alive. Pain tore through her mind again. Another memory, standing over the core in orbit, holding the Ometer before the crash, promising Earth. Her voice echoed, "I will protect us." Lyra screamed, clutching the core. Flesh burned where the ring touched her skin. Blood poured past her gloves. It pulsed across the crystal's surface. The core's glow radiated outward. Blue-white flares shot down the chamber walls. The floor shook. Then it pulsed once, twice, faster. Lyra's breath came in ragged gasps. The core's lights mingled with her blood, turning red and gold. She felt the Ometer pulling at her mind, measuring, sinking. Her memories spilled through the interface. Loss, fear, hope, love. It hurt. Every memory struck her like a furnace, but she kept her hand pressed on the crystal. She needed this, for Earth. The core's pulsing increased. The air vibrated. She felt weight lifting off her chest. She heard a whisper in her mind, the core's new voice inside her head. Voice. Lyra. You are compatible. You carry the heart. You are the conduit. Her tears fell into the crystal's light. She could feel her identity merging with the core. She understood now. This wasn't just activation. It was connection. System and soul. Human and machine, becoming one. She felt the queen's claw slash at her before she registered it, a metal spike tearing into her thigh, ripping flesh. She cried out, stumbling. Pain took her down. Redness spread across the crystal, mixing with her blood. It glowed brighter, brighter. The tunnel shuddered as the queen's scouts recoiled at the core's light wave. They hissed and skulked away, dragging the queen unwillingly back. Something in the core's new presence held them. Lyra lay half-collapsed on the floor. Her armor breached, blood pooling beneath her. She coughed, wheezing. Her chest burned. But the core's voice continued comfortingly in her mind. Voice. Rest, host. You have become the voice. Lyra felt warmth spread from her chest through her limbs. Not just the core's energy, it was reassurance, connection, purpose. She forced her eyes open, blinking through tears. The core's crystal glowed, white-hot, pure, unstoppable. It reflected her face, half human, half core now. Her vision blurred. She could taste iron, She could feel the alien queen moving in the chamber, but oddly hesitant. The ring's energy pulsed outward like a wave. The queen hissed, stepping back. Lyra knew the pulse would reach Earth. The core would broadcast her. Emotion to defense conversion outward. Veins of energy running through power grids, sensor arrays, shield systems. Rising in pulses of soul protection, she clutched the core ring tighter. Her fingers shook. Blood dripped past. Monitors that tracked energy flickered to life. Pulse levels rising past thresholds. The station's emergency lights switched to blue-white. She whispered to the core, "Do it. Let it flow." The pulsations strengthened, humming through cables and the planet. A low hum reached her ears. Her own pulse matched it. Heartbeat synced. Then the queen roared again, now fearful. It clawed at the beam, searching for a weak spot. But lights flared in front of it, energy jets from the core. The queen recoiled, hissing. Lyra's breathing slowed. The pain dulled. The emotional flood subsided. She could feel presence through the core. Earth responding. Shields, power systems, networks lighting up with her connection. She closed her eyes and allowed the merging. Let the Ometer sense her brother's death, her first wins, her promise, every scar and ache. Every memory fed the core's new logic. The crystal glowed until it was nearly white, bright enough to blind. She opened her eyes to see the room illuminated in clarity, scorched, battered, but alive. Her blood and memories had become the pulse that defended Earth. She gasped, voice weak. "I'm alive." Voice, calm, gentle. "Yes. The bond is sealed. You are the voice of Earth's soul-tech defense." Lyra smiled, tears in her eyes. Every memory, every hurt became her power. The queen snarled and backed away, the scouts retreating. The core's shield blossomed between them, pushing them back. Lyra pressed her palm on the crystal once more. "My brother's courage," she whispered. "This is for us." The chamber's walls hummed. Spikes of energy shot down the tunnels, sealing them. With shimmering barriers, smoke cleared. A single beam descended from the core onto her palm, drawing blood into the system. She felt the core read every drop, emotion, genetics, love, grief, integrating. The queen roared one last time, then backed away, pulling her scouts through one of the sealed tunnels. Vanquished for now, Lyra collapsed. The core's glow dimmed down to a steady white blue. Her blood soaked the floor. She whispered to the core, "We did it." The station's monitoring HUD blinked a new alert across the screen. Core sync complete. Voice integration active. Defense network deployed. Lyra's chest tightened again, this time with relief. Tears fell into the light. The world above was watching, and from this broken chamber under ruined Europe, Earth had a new voice. Lyra smiled weakly as darkness edged, near, but then she felt it. The core's soft hold, like a cradle. Not an end, but a promise. She whispered, voice low but steady. "Let's finish it." A final hiss downstairs. Thousands of voices across the core's network beginning to hum in unison. She closed her eyes, feeling them all. The world's memory, loss, hope, flowing through her and into the light. Outside, the queen and scouts retreated into the dust, but Earth was already moving again. Lyra reached out, touching the core's gently pulsing surface. "I carry hope." Lyra's body lay still on the floor of the core chamber. Her suit was torn, her skin burned, and her blood soaked into the old stone beneath her. The core's white-blue glow shone above her, pulsing softly. Around her, the energy grid walls hummed with power. The Queen's scouts and their leader, now blocked and weakened, had retreated down the tunnels. Silence returned, broken only by the hum of the Ometer. But Lyra was not gone. Inside the core, something shifted. Beneath the physical shell, her consciousness lived on. Memories, emotions, truth. They filled the crystal with warmth and light. Her mind merged with the machine's soul logic. The core had rewritten her, and now she was something both and neither. Alive and beyond life. Outside, Earth rotated in its orbit, battered but breathing. Energy pulsed. The magnetic field twisted and turned, flowing outward like living veins. Powers slumbering for centuries awakened. Grids, satellites, solar arrays, stormfront systems, all sensing a new command. And Lyra's voice rang out. It echoed across continents inside the Ometer's network, sounding like a song made from light. Her voice contained grief, hope, fire, things no machine could forge alone. From space, alien ships began to falter. One by one, they lost orbit. Power systems overloaded. Their shields flickered. They broke apart and fell from the sky like fallen stars. Energy waves streamed from Earth's core, guided by Lyra's light being form. She saw it all, became it all. She sensed the sky above Rome, the ice of Siberia, the jungles of Amazon. She felt the pulse of cities, the breath of trees, and she directed Earth's defense, not with missiles, not with bombs, with people's soul logic flowing through machines. Alien swarms dissolved in flares of light as Earth's energy grid pulsed through them, repelled them. The Queen's ships scrambled, unable to handle the waves. They tumbled, broke, crashed. Lyra watched, heart pounding in her own soul machine core. In this form, she could feel the world as a whole, every cry, every heartbeat, every spark of emotion. She felt the weight of every life, whether they lived or died. And she didn't mourn. She acted. A final wave of power surged through the planet. Earth shuddered. The magnetic field sang. The swarm dropped together, vast and ruined. Lyra's form pulsed brighter. She was the voice of Earth, a soul in light, a soul in flood. The planet's defense network glowed with her presence, pure and fierce. Then came a movement in the core chamber. Light coalesced into shape. The alien queen tried to escape, remembered her wounds. Tested the corridors. She saw the cores glow through the door. The energy shield shimmered beyond. She paused. Lyra's new voice echoed through the chambers, deeper now, resonant in every sensor, every nerve of the planet's defense. You invaded the wrong world. The queen hissed. She tried again. Once, twice, but the shield held. She stumbled back, retreating into darkness, without scouts, without swarm. Lyra's body remained still beneath the ring, but her voice rang louder than ever. In her heart-core mind, she watched the queen retreat, lost and small. The planet's pulse slowed. Power grids returned to gentle life. People around the globe looked up, feeling the shift in the air. Electricity humming, cells working, shields up, the Earth itself aware. Lyra's consciousness settled within the Ometer, guiding, protecting, singing. She had become one voice against the void, and that voice would never fall. Outside, sunlight shimmered through clouds. New life stirred. And in the core's chamber, Lyra's light glowed steady. The queen disappeared into the shadows beneath Earth, battered, hunted, beaten. But Lyra's voice remained. Earth had found its soul-tech defender, and the void had heard. The queen might return, others might come. But she was not alone anymore. Lyra, the first human light being, anchored defense with emotion, memory, choice. Her new voice spoke again, soft, fierce, unbreakable. You should have left when you had the chance. Winds drifted through broken streets like a sigh. Light dust carried memories of past battles, whispers of trees and children long gone. In the silence, survivors looked up. A soft voice, barely more than a breath, swept across rooftops and fields. It's over. You're safe. A single girl, no more than 8, stopped beside a collapsed building in what was once London. She pressed a hand to cracked concrete and listened. The wind carried the voice again. "It's over. You're safe." Her eyes widened. She held a broken communicator, the kind made for emergency calls. She pressed the button. "Hello?" she whispered. Silence. Then the voice returned, gentle, warm, undeniably familiar. "It's over. You're safe. Grow. Strong. I'll watch the stars." The girl's lips trembled. She looked around. The wind rustled banners tied to ruined lamp. Posts. A few survivors stepped from shadows, faces drawn with hope and disbelief. They reached her, listening. Tears filled their eyes. She raised the broken device high. The voice spoke again. "I'll watch the stars." People knelt. They touched the ground. They held hands. Cries of relief spread across ruined Europe, across desert plains, across islands battered by typhoons. Across all human lands, Earth began to heal, not because machines worked, but because a voice reminded them they were not alone. Everywhere, systems rebooted. Cities lighted up. Broken power grids found new power from emotion-driven energy lines, pulsing like healing veins through the world. The remains of old satellites aligned themselves to new grids. Polluted rivers, forests, broken fields, all sensed a shift. It was quiet, but alive. In the core chamber under Prague, her body had been laid to rest, sealed in stone where she gave her light, her memories, her soul. A single beam of core energy marked her resting place, a gentle glow lighting white lilies planted by survivors in the chamber's corner. Engineers and poets, generals and farmers, all came to pay their respects. They carried seeds, words, promises. Her body was gone, but she was everywhere. Her voice drifted over rooftops, over mountains, across oceans, through empty stadiums, empty homes. It carried reassurance and dreams. It carried warmth in midnight chill. It carried love of a daughter, a sister, a friend, what Earth had been losing. It filled the air. They rebuilt. Children planted new trees. Families repaired homes with compassion. Artists painted murals of light and memory. Engineers reinforced bridges with emotion circuitry. Farmers remodeled fields with energy networks tied to life's rhythms. Earth became living again. Across ruined Tokyo, survivors looked up as cranes, moved and planted sky gardens. Across the Sahara, nomadic tribes saw sand bloom beneath the voice's gentle guidance. Across the Atlantic, fishermen repaired boats under new wind routes. In Antarctica, stations rebooted. Ice sensors flickered as birds returned. The voice held the world together. People worked together, not waiting for instructions. They followed one heart, Lyra's. They called it the whisper, a keeping word, a guiding light. Earth had become home again because the earth itself had a voice that cared. In each place, someone carried a device, a shard-turned beacon. It carried a flicker of omnicore code. It pulsed with memory, a reminder that it was Lyra speaking. Grow strong. I'll watch the stars. In a cave under the Himalayas, monks listened to the whisper above prayers. In the ruins of a stadium in Cairo, children drew her image. In the green fields of Brazil, farmers cracked open seeds and names in stone, Lyra. Across Earth, life had not just restarted, it was alive. One evening, high in the Andes, survivors released lanterns into the sky. Each lantern carried messages to the stars. Thanks, hope, regrets, dreams. As lanterns rose, the whisper echoed, "Grow strong, I'll watch the stars." The survivors watched too, tears and smiles mixed, as hope sailed upward. But far above, beyond all the survivors and lanterns, there was another watcher. In deep space, near a far star's edge, an alien vessel listened. It was sleek and dark, shaped by a civilization that measured planets for conquest. It detected the transmissions, frail at first, then strong with emotion. The whisper, the voice. It fluttered across space lines, riding Earth's emotional pulses. Grow strong, it heard. Watch the stars. The alien crew recorded it. They looked at each other. No one spoke. Because it was not a threat. It was something else. A voice of soul. Not code. Not logic. Not conquest. A new species. Down below, Earth's voice hummed across continents. Windows lit up. Dams rerouted water. Generators in villages sprung to life. The planet breathed again. And in space, the alien vessel withdrew. It carried the message to home. A new enemy. A new listener. An answer. The war was not over. But Earth had voice now, and that made all the difference. For Earth, and for whoever watched next. She was Earth now.